Hey, what's up, guys? We will be starting in just a minute. Hopefully we don't cut. We're just headed downstairs, so give us 2 seconds and then we will get started. Ladies and gentlemen. All right, well, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, wherever you are. It is Thursday, and we had to start off the stream in the office today because the computer's not working unless it's plugged in, and I can't turn on any of the subscribers only mode, if you will. But tonight we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. There's a lot to unpack tonight. Obviously, extremely busy day on Wall Street. Yeah, extremely busy day for the entire world. I think most notably, unfortunately, the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth, did pass away. But I think to look on the bright side, I mean, she did live a very long life. So I just want to extend my condolences for that. We are going to be talking about the European Central Bank. So we did hear from our friend Christine Lagarde over there at the ECB. They decided to raise interest rates by about 75 basis points. Finally, we have liftoff, bringing that rate above zero for the first time in a long, long time. Okay, so now the interest rate is 75 basis points, being that they did raise it 75 basis points. We've been noticing a trend here, everybody, around the world. It's not just the central bank here in the United States, the Federal Reserve, Fed Chair Jerome Powell. It's the ECB, it's the Canadians, everywhere. Global central banks are tightening. They're taking liquidity out of this market. I think we need to be prepared for that. Okay, we'll talk about that today. Oh, check this out. So everybody, can you see this very, very faint stream of blue light here? Let me know if it's coming out on the stream, but right here you could see it. That's actually the 9/11 lights. So the 9/11 memorial lights. So maybe we'll be able to see that as we go over the Brooklyn Bridge today. Hopefully we'll be able to see that, but let's see who we have in the chat, my friends. We're also going to be talking about Zscaler. So Zscaler is a cybersecurity company that specializes in ZeroTrust cybersecurity. So we're going to be doing a little bit of a lesson on network security, how traditional hub and spoke networks were traditionally architected and how they were secured as well. So if we think about a traditional hub and spoke architecture, we'll give a quick rundown of what that is. And we'll also go into how they were secured, right? So we could think about the very traditional castle and moat style cybersecurity, where at one point you said, okay, we are going to throw up a firewall and anything outside of this particular firewall is dangerous and anything inside is A-okay and it's good to go. Well, you know, pre-SaaS, I would say pre-software as a service and pre-public cloud architecture, maybe that was a potentially sufficient way to secure a particular network. But now it seems as if the vast majority of large enterprises are shifting towards a zero trust architecture. So we'll review what that means. We'll break it down. Let me cross the street here, everybody, and we will see who we have in the chat. I know we're starting off the stream a little bit different. Hey, Gregory is here. Good to see you. Says good evening all. I see Cindy Foley. I see the one and only Chris Beeman. Welcome. Good to see you, Chris. I see Dalton says, what's up, Tom? Good to see you, Dalton. Kilo Whiskey Juliet. Austin City Limits. I see Big Task. Says, hey, I just found this channel. Well, good to see you. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Thank you to all the new viewers. Tiffany Allen is here. Says hello there, WeWork. Yeah, the WeWork office isn't that bad. I mean, it's fully stocked with, you know, coffee, snacks, tea, really anything you need. So it's pretty good. Jamie Massetti is here. Sinjib, welcome Sinjib. Raquel, Charlie Richardson is here. GX72 says, hey Tom. If you guys look all the way in the distance, you could see the One Vanderbilt building. Now, I needed to get a new microphone, so we are going to be rolling through tonight's live stream without a mic, unfortunately. So there may be some wind noise, audio may be a little bit messed up. So just be cognizant of that as we roll through tonight. I see Jonathan Richards. What's up, Jonathan? Good to see you. Very, very busy day. Omar MD is here. Says, good evening, Tom. Destructionness. Welcome, Destructionness. So I was tinkering with some of the settings here because over the past couple days on the live stream, I think there was some technical difficulties. I had to go back in and reset some settings here on the Prism in the back end. So let me know if you guys are able to view tonight's live stream in 1080p. The previous two live streams, it was only in 720. And I think I figured out what was wrong. I think I just had to reset some of my settings. So, yeah, let me know before we get too deep in the weeds in the stream here. We should be streaming right now in 1080p. So it should be HD. I think I fixed the issue, but we'll see as the stream goes on. Okay, Gregory's like, yeah, it is 1080p. Copy that. So we're going to be walking to the Brooklyn Bridge tonight, but we are going to be stopping by Chinatown as well as Little Italy. And if you could see, this is the 9/11 memorial floodlights that are on. Obviously, as September 11th approaches, I think it's very nice that the city does that tribute each and every year. And I think we're gonna have a pretty nice view of that as we head down to Lower Manhattan and across the Brooklyn Bridge. It is a beautiful night out here in Manhattan. It's not too hot, it's not too cold. You know, I think it's right around that time of year where, you know, if you're sitting in your office and they have the air conditioning on, it feels like you're in a refrigerator or a freezer because it's just not that hot outside. It's not that cold either. So I was freezing today in the office. So as we pound out the miles, get the road work in tonight, hopefully we'll be able to warm up. David Individuals says, Tom, what kind of rig are you using to hold your iPhone? So it's just a basic gimbal. I think it was like $50 off of Amazon. Nothing too big. Hey, Lynn is here. What's up, Lynn? Says, yeah, I know what you mean. I was freezing. I'm still shivering. Edson says, hey, Tom, what's up? Good to see you, Edson. Vinny Castellano is here from Staten Island. Always a pleasure to see you, Vinny. Please extend my regards to Marie as well. Cindy Foley says, the Queen was a lovely woman. She will be missed. Yeah, it was a pretty big news day today. Okay, so not only, I think the biggest story of the day, obviously, is the Queen unfortunately did pass away, right? So regardless of, politics, regardless of how we feel about particular politics, I think it's appropriate just to recognize that because she is a big, prominent global figure. So it was some terrible news. It was some sad news today. But we also heard from the European Central Bank. We heard from Christine Lagarde. They've decided to raise interest rates by 75 basis points, taking that benchmark rate now off of 0, I think for the first time in a decade. So this isn't just exclusive to the Federal Reserve here with Fed Chair Jerome Powell, which we did hear from him today, by the way, which we'll talk about that too. The Canadians also raised interest rates by 75 basis points after coming off a massive rate hike of about 100 basis points or a full percentage point. This is East 23rd Street. Right in front of us, you could see the very famous Flatiron building. Hey, Crazy Otto is here. What's up, Otto? Good to see you. Daryl is here. Says, hey, Tom. Welcome. GX72. Appreciate it, GX72. Charles Hong says, hey Tom from DC. Big day for Zscaler. Yeah, Zscaler crushed it. So the CEO of Zscaler is Jay Chaudhry, and he's an absolutely fantastic American entrepreneur. And we're going to be talking about why I always tend to put my focus on 3 specific cybersecurity companies of nature. Number 1 being Palo Alto Networks, number 2 being Zscaler, and probably a close number 3 is CrowdStrike. Now, Zscaler really tries to push, and they pioneered their ZeroTrust platform, right? So if we think about traditional, if we go all the way back pre-SaaS, okay, so if we think about pre-software as a service and public clouds, oh my God, you guys are gonna love this. Get a load of this. Look at the Empire State Building tonight. I'm not sure why it's lit up. It looks like a purple, white, and purple. Oh, maybe it's for Disney Plus Day? On the building it says Disney Plus Day. I'm not sure what that means. Hey, Ramp 5 is here. It says hello from Astoria. Welcome, Ramp 5. Good to see you. 1973, this is the apartments on the left. They're very nice. Yeah, I'm sure they are. How much do you think something like this costs? Well, the average rent in Manhattan is $5,000, but the median rent I think is $4,100. So here we have a beautiful view of the Empire State Building standing on the corner of Broadway and East 23rd Street. Ah, so PL 830 says purple is a royal color, is that why? So I'm getting a little bit confused because if you look directly in front of us, you'll see on the building there's like a big projection of Disney Plus Day. And the color schemes sort of match a little bit, so maybe it's just a coincidence there. Oh, it is for the Queen. Copy that. Yeah, I mean, it's a very unique color scheme. I don't think I've ever seen it before. It looks beautiful. Hey, photos from around New York is here. Says the Empire State Building lights are purple and silver sparkle in honor of the Queen. Thank you for that. Photos from around New York. Good to see you. Vonda Howard, good to see you. Welcome. So, Charles Hong, you are absolutely correct. Zscaler had a fantastic quarter, reported a fantastic quarter, beating on both the top and the bottom line. Hold on, let me try to adjust the camera. We should be streaming in 1080p. Now, we've been talking about cybersecurity and how it's going to have massive, massive secular tailwinds at its back for probably the next 10 to 15 years. And I actually had the pleasure of joining the Zscaler conference call. Obviously, if you go to the investor relations page of any publicly traded company, you are able to access the earnings conference call and the investor deck for free. So I took some notes. I marked down some of the things that I always like to look for when a company reports earnings, so we'll go into that. But if we think about cybersecurity as a whole, if we think about traditional wireless networks or WANs, or wide area networks, I should say. Looks like we have something going on here. A lot of activity tonight. So if we think about traditional networks, right? The way we used to secure those traditional networks is by throwing up a firewall and saying, okay, anything outside of this firewall is deemed dangerous and is a threat to our infrastructure. It's an unknown, but anything inside is good to go. Now, that works back in the day, pre-SaaS and pre-public clouds, right? So you can think about, public cloud providers like an Amazon AWS. You could think about, Microsoft Azure Cloud or a Google Cloud. But now a lot of employees at big corporations, they need to access their particular applications, and those applications are not all the time in the data center, right? So before, in a very data center centric world, as I like to call it, all of your applications were housed there. But now in the environment of software as a service, if you think of like a Salesforce, maybe you have to access like a Workday or a ServiceNow or something like that. Well, you're going to have to access those applications in the cloud, thus opening up more endpoints that could potentially be breached and things like that. So it seems as if a lot of corporations are now gravitating towards a zero trust architecture, which Zscaler is one of the many pioneers in the industry with that. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Hey, Steph Wright is here. Is New York being as peaceful and as tranquil as ever? Yeah, we got the sirens banging all over the place. But the Empire State Building looks nice. That's a big plus. Cindy Foley says in and out tonight watching the Bills. Yeah, so the NFL is back on, right? So I guess it is officially football season. I'm not a big football guy, but many of my friends and colleagues watch football. Ed Cooper's here, says, what's good, Tom? Good to see you, Ed. War Walker, the one and only from the 305 down there in Miami. So War Walker, supposedly there was a big storm that hit like the Aventura, Fort Lauderdale type area. Hope everybody's all right. James says, greetings from the Ozark Mountains. Good to see you, James. Welcome. We're going to be walking downtown to Lower Manhattan tonight, and it's going to be really interesting to see the beams of light in honor of 9/11. So as we approach September 11th. Brad's Brain says, Chiefs. Brad, what's up? Good to see you. Lilith says, go Vikings. Hope you're well. Denise Ebby says, I am so thankful that my... It's coming back. Very nice. Kathy Lyons says, rest in peace, the Queen. Agreed. Skylar says, hey, Tom, have you ever done a walk through Governor's Island? I don't think I have. I don't think we've ever been to Governor's Island on the stream. I think that would be an interesting live stream, though, through Governor's Island. Two Barnacles is here. Welcome. You guys are just going to have to suffer through the poor audio quality tonight. I think there's something wrong with my microphone, so I just ditched it to the side. Buff20 says, hey, Tom and chat, what is new tonight? Well, we're going to be talking about Zscaler's earnings. So Zscaler reported earnings today after the bell, and they beat on both the top and the bottom line. But before we go into the financials, let's talk a little bit about the CEO real quick. So it's very rare that a publicly traded company will have a CEO that is, well, I shouldn't say very rare, but it is ideal. Let me say it's ideal to have a CEO of a publicly traded company that is actually the founder of the company, right? So Zscaler, I believe, was founded in 2008 by a gentleman that goes by the name of Jay Chaudhry. Now, he is actually still a majority owner in the business. It's crazy that as Zscaler has grown to now over $1 billion of ARR, so over $1 billion worth of ARR per year, Jay Chaudhry still owns about 45% of the company. So I was talking to one of my buddies that runs a hedge fund out of Chicago, and we were talking about Zscaler specifically because a lot of times I'll call him and shoot ideas back and forth about the particular stocks that I research, and I think cybersecurity is a huge opportunity for investment going into the next 5 to 10 years for reasons that we've been talking about to the point of ad nauseum here on the stream. And one of the very good things to look for is to invest into a company. Now, I'm not saying invest into Zscaler, that's not the point. But it's always good to see a company that is publicly traded, that the founder still has a huge majority stake in, and they're at the helm, right? Or the CEO. And this is exactly in Zscaler's case with Jay Chaudhry, still controlling about 45% of the business. Because if you think about it like this, it's sort of like your company is your baby, essentially. It's like your company is your child, and you're going to do everything you can to nurture that company, make sure you're hiring the right people, keeping brand recognition, innovating top class, top of the line products and services. There's a random baby stroller in the street. And I think that's exactly in Zscaler's case. So that is always a plus that I like to look for, because if you have a company that goes public and the owners are diluted to the point of nothing, well, that could send a signal that they just wanted to cash out and get a payday, which is fine, which I understand and I get. But it's not every day that you see a founder that is so deeply ingrained and entrenched into the business. And I think that just goes to show the success of Zscaler, posting a record quarter, beating on both the top and the bottom line. And they have now grown their employee size to just under 5,000. So Zscaler has about 4,975 employees globally. So it's good to see them growing. And they're also growing a lot of their business for their customers in the enterprise space. And you guys know that is one of the main metrics that I look for during a specific earnings report is, are they able to sell, are they able to have success selling their particular software, product, or services into the enterprise, right? So you could think about Fortune 500 companies. You could think about Global 2000 companies. Because that's proof of concept right there. As you know, if you're selling into enterprises, Fortune 500, Global 2000, their buying cycles are extremely elongated, right? So it's not like you're doing a one-call close to sell them software. These buying cycles could take years. You know, you could be in a big, long sales cycle. Wow, check out the moon tonight, everybody. I think that's a full moon tonight. You could be in a sales cycle for over a year with some of these enterprise customers. So just know that the due diligence that these particular enterprises do is extreme. So if they choose a piece of software from Zscaler as opposed to another competitor, well, they're probably doing that for a reason. So, but we are now at Union Square. It is a beautiful night, full moon, and we are going to be headed down through the one and only Chinatown and Little Italy. Hey, Sally is joining us. The one and only Sunshine After Rain. Sunshine, how are you? How was your Thursday? Good to see you. Bob is here, welcome. Danny, good to see you, Danny. Danny Vito is here. Ramp 5 says, have you been to Madison Square Garden for a Rangers game? If so, did you enjoy it? You know, I've never been to a hockey game at MSG. Never been. You know what, let me think. I'm trying to think. No, I don't think I've ever been. I don't think I've ever been to a Rangers game. I would like to. But no, I've never been. Big talks, says Tom. I always wonder. I had a good day, yeah. Good to see a Big Talk. So Big Talk, check this out. If you look all the way, the dead center of your screen, you'll be able to see the 9/11 Memorial floodlights. Look at how high up they go. They extend extremely, extremely far into the sky. And just to give you some perspective, this is East 14th Street. And you can see these lights all the way from, well, all the way at the very tip of Lower Manhattan. Yeah, Brad's brain is like, wow, nice shot, Tom. Appreciate that. Kilo Whiskey Juliet's like Islanders over the Rangers. Yeah, I'm not a huge sports fan, but if I had to pick a team, if somebody came to me and said Rangers or Islanders, I think I'd probably say Rangers. Austin City Limits, 2 Barnacles is here, welcome. Crazy Auto. Hey, we have our viewers from Korea joining. Welcome. Good to see everybody in Korea. Hopefully you are well. Buff 20 says, Tom, I went to the fights Once broke out at a hockey game, copy that. Otto is here, says, hey, Tom and chat, good to see you. Nirvana Fan 500 says, do you think they should have built the Twin Towers of the Freedom Tower? I don't know. I think it's hard to say. I think the Freedom Tower looks great. I mean, I love One World Trade Center, but you know, I think everybody could agree that there was nothing like the original World Trade Centers. I mean, that was an extremely, extremely iconic focal point of the city. And I just think that's pretty much irreplaceable, honestly. Hey, someone says, I want to see the Empire State Building with my own eyes someday. Well, make it happen. You're more than welcome here. I think you're gonna have a good time when you do it as well. So this is 14th Street, Union Square. We are right outside of the Whole Foods. We're gonna be pushing on our way downtown. Hopefully we'll have some time to walk over the Brooklyn Bridge. I think it's gonna be an amazing view of Lower Manhattan. We're also gonna be able to see the lights of the World Trade Center. An even better view there. So if we think about Zscaler, they reported revenue that was up 61% year over year to about $318 million worth of revenue. That was a beat. So analysts expected about $12.5 million in revenue less than that. So they beat by about 12 million bucks, which is extremely good. But they also beat on the bottom line as well, if we talk about it from an EPS standpoint, or earnings per share, with a pretty big beat. I think consensus was only for about 4 cents of EPS for Zscaler. They came in with 25 cents or a quarter worth of EPS. And their guidance was actually quite well. And I think Wall Street was looking at their guidance. Oftentimes, you know, it's not just about how well the company reported last quarter. A lot of the eyes, oh, check this out. This is one of those one wheels. You know, a lot of the times, the majority of the eyes on Wall Street are on the forward guidance, right? Because as an investor, you don't really care how the company did last quarter, right? Well, I mean, you care, but as an investor, you're investing your money to grow future profits of that business. So guidance was actually good, and it actually beat consensus as well, coming in at about 339 million to about 341 million for next quarter. And Zscaler blew past $1 billion worth of ARR, so annually reoccurring revenue, for the first time in company history. But their total revenue is growing at about a 55% CAGR. So CAGR is an acronym, CAGR, that stands for Compounded Annualized Growth Rate. So total revenue is compounding at a 55% per year, obviously surpassing that very famous, very iconic $1 billion in ARR in 2022, with a lot of runway to the upside. Hey, Bernie Williams is here. Good to see you, Bernie. Welcome. Bernie Williams says, hey, Tom, good to see you, pal. Should have been on my way over to New York this week with the company I work for, media. Grounded and all changes canceled. Really? So is that like a company decision, or is it just like a weather thing? You know, I think I flew over 20 times this year in 2022. And I've only had 2 flights that weren't canceled or delayed. Only 2 flights. Flying has been an absolute horror show this year. Hey, Memo says, hey, I will be there Monday in New York City. Any recommendations for a birthday dinner? Well, I'll give you 3. You ask for 1, I'll over deliver and give you 3. I think that's fair. This guy is acting all crazy in his Mini Cooper. So I'll give you 2 Korean restaurant recommendations and 1 Italian spot. So my first recommendation would be Take 31. It's on 31st Street off of 7th Avenue. No, excuse me, off of 6th. No, excuse me, off of 5th. I'm acting crazy tonight. Off of 5th Avenue. So Take 31, Take 31. The second recommendation would be Her Name is Han, which actually is operated and owned by the same people. Very, very good Korean restaurants. And then if you want to get Italian food, and very good Italian food, by the way, I would check out a restaurant called Becco, Becco, and that is right there in Restaurant Row near Times Square. It's fantastic. Hey, Andy S., good to see you. Happy Thursday to you. Dan Zhang says, hey Tom, how's your week been so far? I'm spending my entire week in Puerto Rico. Wow. Puerto Rico, very nice, man. So is that for vacation or is that for a work thing? Awesome, Dan. Well, enjoy Puerto Rico, my friend. That's fantastic. Tiffany Allen says, make reservations wherever you go. It's Fashion Week in New York City. I forgot. Is it actually Fashion Week? If that's the case, then yeah, definitely Take 31 and Her Name is Han. It's probably going to be pretty booked up. So I think that's a pretty good piece of advice. Hey, Jason D is here. Good to see you, Jason. Welcome. Sonny D says, hey Tom, not sure if you are a pizza fan, but if you were, what is your favorite pizza places in New York City? So I'm going to shamelessly plug a particular pizza spot that is not your traditional pizza spot, mainly because my friend is one of the owners. And that is a particular restaurant called Mel's. So MELS. And it's more of like, it's not like it's not like going to Joe's, right? It's not like going to Joe's Pizza or even DeFara's. It's more of like a sit down place, and they have very, very sort of like artisan style pizzas. But it's worth it. Check it out if you want to see it on, maybe we'll go this way. It's called Mel's, and that is, I believe, in Chelsea Market area. But if you want to just go to a regular place, I would go on the Upper West Side. I would check out Made in New York Pizza. That one's a good one. And if you want to go to Brooklyn and get really good stuff, I would go to DeFara's. DeFara Pizza. Hey, Cosmo is here. What's up, Cosmo? Scary, good to see you. Wow, everybody, check out this view. I think this is one of the best views we're going to get on the stream. So at the top right-hand corner of your screen, you're going to see the One World Trade Center, and then you'll see the very famous 9/11 memorial lights here. Bit of Wander is here. Good to see you, Bit of Wander. Welcome. Yeah, Bernie Williams is superb. They do a great job. I think they do a good job with the memorial every year. So Denise, New York City says, have you ever been to One World Trade? So I've been there. I haven't been to the observation deck though. I think I was telling you guys, there's a specific competitor with WeWork. It's called ServCorp. And ServCorp, they originally had a location in the Seagram building where I was going to rent a small office space there. But due to the pandemic, they actually shut that location down. They moved it to One World Trade Center. So I don't know, maybe I'll check it out. But after they did that, I just signed up for WeWork, and it's been going pretty well. WeWork is a pretty nice spot to work. Hey, Sunset Blue says hello, good to see you. Welcome, welcome. MN is here. All right, we are almost to Washington Square Park. So anytime we're analyzing a specific SaaS business or software as a service business, or really any business, but I'd say specifically to if you want to stick with SaaS. Anytime, specifically today, Zscaler, ticker symbol ZS, reported a fantastic quarter. One of the main, I would say, categories that I like to look for is customers that they have that are billing at least $100,000 a year or more. Some companies actually disclose a specific criteria of millionaire customers, so customers that are spending $1 million a year or more on their products or services. That is a particular category that Palo Alto Networks discloses, and we actually did a pretty in-depth discussion on that particular company. But Zscaler has explosive growth in their $100,000 or more ARR customers. So that's growing at a CAGR, a compounded annualized growth rate, of about 42%. So now Zscaler has about 2,089 customers that pay them about $100,000 a year or more. That is up from about 1,480 in the same quarter last year. So extremely healthy growth there. And Jay Chaudhry, who is the CEO of Zscaler, on the earnings conference call said the biggest area of opportunity and growth that they see is coming from the enterprise, right? So Zscaler has a very classic but effective go-to-market strategy, which is the land and expand strategy. Okay, so a lot of times when we're talking about software sales or SaaS sales, you'll have the account executives or enterprise account executives whose job is to go out into the marketplace and close what they call new logos. Right, so new logos are new business. And then once you close those particular customers, what they do is they move those particular customers to the inside sales division. Wow, check out these horses over here. I'm not sure if they're NYPD or not, but they look nice. So from there, they'll move those particular customers over to either inside sales or account management. And from there, their job is to sell that particular customer additional products and services. So that is where a lot of the growth is coming from in Zscaler. Beautiful piano playing here. This is Washington Square Park. Hey, big task at hand, says Washington Square Park. Love it. Dan Zhang says, I thought you meant soybean when you said ticker symbol ZS. Yeah, that's the commodity. Isn't that the commodities ticker? I think you're correct. I think you're right, Dan. Hey, Melvin is here. Says hello all from New York. Welcome, Melvin. Good to see you. Yeah, Gregory's like they just dropped the piano there. It's funny. There used to be a guy, and that's not the same guy. I haven't seen him in a long, long time. I actually think he was quite famous. He would literally push his piano every day to Washington Square Park and play it for everybody. Didn't matter if it was sunny out, didn't matter if it was raining or snowing. He would be out here pushing that piano into Washington Square Park. I haven't seen him in a long time though. He was this guy, really, really nice guy with glasses. I haven't seen him in a long time. I think a lot of the New Yorkers in the chat probably know who I'm talking about though. Hey, Tiffany Allen is here. Cosmo Scary's probably definitely seen the guy. Cosmo, you know which guy I'm talking about, right? Ken Glass is here. Good to see you, Ken.
Hey.
Yeah, Rare Bear's like, invest our life savings in the soy. Hey, iRevis is here. Good to see you, iRevis. Hopefully you had a good Thursday. We have the one and only ABX Girl here. Hey, ABX Girl, long time no see. Trust you're well. ABX Girl says the UK went through a lot. Do you think their economy will suffer even more with inflation and people cannot afford their energy bills? I do think that. We did hear from the ECB today, ABX Girl. We heard from our friends over there at the European Central Bank with Christine Lagarde. And they actually decided to raise interest rates again, 75 basis points. Now, by raising the benchmark rate 75 basis points, that brings their benchmark rate to, wait for it, 75 basis points. Now, the ECB has actually had negative interest rates. Ooh, check out what's going on here. Oh, oh yeah, that's right. Everybody's back to school now, so all the NYU kids are probably doing the orientation. That's awesome. Very nice. Yeah, I completely, ever since I've been out of college, I have been totally oblivious to school. Anyway, but yeah, ECB, we heard from Christine Lagarde today. They're raising interest rates 75 basis points, bringing that benchmark rate to 75 basis points away from zero for the first time in a long, long time. It's almost been negative for a decade. And inflation, I believe, yeah, let me just cross the street here. This is West 3rd Street, near the college town here at NYU. So I think Eurozone inflation overall was about 9.1% in August. And many economists believe that it is expected to actually expand to over 10% in the coming months. So here's the difference. So to ABX Girl's point, it's a little bit different when you're comparing the Eurozone and the United States. And the reason for that is because the Eurozone is very, very dependent, unfortunately, on Russia for energy, right? Most specifically, natural gas. And what we've been seeing here in the United States is, crude oil prices are taking a hit, which is good. But you're seeing natural gas prices still go off on one. So it may be a very, very cold winter over there in Europe. So they're very dependent, unfortunately, on external forces, a little bit less so than the United States. And in the United States, we've actually been seeing that CPI come down a little bit. In Europe, we've been seeing the exact opposite. So here's one other thing I like to add, and let me know your thoughts on this, everybody. Everybody is acting like a 75 basis point rate hike is going to be the end-all, be-all to curing inflation. But you have to understand that 75 basis points is not bringing the rate to 10% or 6% or 7%. It's bringing the rate to 75 basis points. I mean, rates are still historically ridiculously low. And I think we're starting to enter this environment where we're finally paying the piper for a decade of artificially suppressed interest rates, money printing, and that has to deflate. A lot of the air has to come out of the bubble now. So we've been seeing, I was actually watching an interesting interview with Chamath Palihapitiya, and he was sort of saying something very similar about how if you look at the M2 money supply, there's about there's about a 92 cent correlation with the M2 money supply and equities. So for example, let's say if you printed, for every dollar that the Fed printed, the equity market would go up, or the valuations would go up about 92 cents. And that was during periods of quantitative easing. Now that we're going into QT, we're extracting a lot of that liquidity out of the market. So there's going to be a lot of re-rating here that needs to happen. It is possible, though, that especially some of these SaaS companies or, the very high beta, very frothy companies, a lot of that re-rating has already happened potentially. So a lot of these rate hikes are potentially baked into the cake. But I think, to your point, ABX Curl, I think Europe is going to have a harder time about it, or a harder go around, than the United States. They definitely do not have as a robust economy as we do in terms of its diversity. And diversity meaning economic diversity. But what do you think? What are your thoughts on that? You know, a lot of people out tonight for a Thursday night. Hey, Blues Writer says NYU tuition is $54,880 a year. You know, if I had to guess, I would actually guess maybe a little bit higher than that. Is that including room and board? I'd be interested to see if that's including like room and board and stuff like that. NYU is a really good school, but to your point, it's really expensive. Extremely expensive at that. Mike says, don't you? I'm not sure about that, Mike. Hold on, when we get to the end of the block here, I'll read that comment. Something about the CIA. Quite an intriguing comment. I want to read into that a little bit more. We're going to make a right here on LaGuardia. Okay, so Mike says, don't you think the CIA tripped out Ukraine government in 2014? I don't know anything about that, Mike, honestly, dude. I think you have more expertise on that than me, to be quite honest. Hey, Cayenne Pacific is here. Good to see you, Cayenne Pacific.
Hey.
Hopefully you're doing well.
Hey, buddy.
Chris is here. Good to see you. You know, I think if we continue down LaGuardia, we're going to have an amazing view of the lights all the way down to the Trade Center. It's going to be fantastic. Susan Herbert says, hello, Tom, and happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome. Ollie Jade says, hey, Tom, love these New York City walks. Oh my gosh, we have the one and only NYC Cherry Groove. Cherry Groove, hopefully you had a fantastic summer. Hopefully you had a good Labor Day. So Cherry Groove, I was reading an article today in the Wall Street Journal, and here's what one of the statistics read from the article. You ready for this? And let's see if it resonates well with the chat. Let's see, because I always wonder when a particular publication puts out a quotation or like a statistic. It's like, how do you really get a good gauge on things? So let's see if this particular statistic resonates well with the chat. So it says about 64% of employees say that they would start to look for a job if their company requires them or calls them back to the office 5 days a week. Now, I don't know where they get those statistics or how they can pull from a large enough data set to conclusively say that. But do you think that resonates well with you or sounds right to you? So the question is, if your boss called you up and said, hey, Cherry Groove, Destructionist, Sunshine After Rain, John Smith, Chris, you guys got to be in the office 5 days a week or you're out of here. Would that prompt you to look for another job, or you have no problem? You're all good. You'd rather go back to the office? Because we've been seeing this trend and we've been talking about it a lot on the stream. A lot of the investment banks like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, even a lot of the tech companies are now calling their employees back to work. So the question is this going to prompt an exodus? What do you guys think? Wow, check out these beautiful lofts here. Could you imagine living in them? Look at these three. These are beautiful. Andy S is like, Tom, I'd be like, see ya. Okay, so Andy, you would look for another job if your boss called you back 5 days a week. Rare Bear said they'd look for another job, but 100% of them wouldn't switch jobs. I guess that's an interesting way to put it. So you don't think none of them would pull the trigger? Ireva says, I like part-time office, part-time at home. Charlie Richardson says, I don't want to go back to an office environment. So Charlie, you'd say you're out of there? D says, no, I would go back to work. It's only been respectful and keeping your job, says D. I respect that. I respect that. So it seems we're split 50-50 here in the chat. Anthony says 100% I would leave. Adidas Shay 29 says once or twice a week is fine, but 5 days a week is too much considering it takes 4 hours round trip to get to the office. Okay, so maybe there's room for compromise there. Maybe you could, come back at your employer and say, look, I can't do 5 days a week because my commute's 4 hours. Patricia Ivory says, yeah, y'all stay home. There's a lot of young people anxious to work. This is Patricia. Well, I think there's a little bit of, I was about to say arbitrage, but I don't think that's the appropriate word, actually. I think if you're a young person, you're a real go-getter. I think there's a big opportunity here to stand out. If you're willing to go to the office and put in the work, I think you could have a real one-up on your coworkers here. Yeah, GGNYC is like interesting answers. I know we're split. We're always about split down the middle here, which I appreciate. Kilo Whiskey Juliet says, Tom, I work for the MTA. We're at the office every day. Yeah, well, I mean, I guess if you're a conductor or a mechanic, you sort of don't have the ability to work from home. But I mean, I guess there's a lot of office jobs too at the MTA, in like budgeting and finance. So they're all back. I think it's different if you work in the public sector too, right? I think it's different in public sector. Ooh, NYC Cherry Grooves. The concept of the office is going to become extinct. So it's interesting. So NYC Cherry Grooves is a big real estate guy in the chat. And the CEO of Google has made some pretty big investments in New York City, acquiring much more office space. So I don't know. It seems like a lot of these tech companies are either making a pretty firm stance with saying, look, we need people back into the office, or they're being a little bit more flexible, like Amazon. I believe the Amazon AWS unit said that they are going to be more flexible with having their employees split their time between the office and remote. Check out the artwork here. Chase Contemporary Art. Looks quite nice, actually. Hey, Susanna Herbert says, hey, Tom, it depends. If they have other choices, of course they will leave. Most have been looking for job opportunities in that case. Sonny D says, isn't Tesla forcing their people back? Yeah, so Tesla is. So Elon Musk has been really outspoken here. Also, the CEO of Palo Alto Networks sort of holds the same view that, working from home is sort of pretending to work. And I think this has sparked a lot of conversation about the quiet quitting. Has anybody ever been reading those articles that have been coming out about quiet quitting? Which essentially says that the vast majority of people that work at a company only do what their job description says and they refuse to do anything more. So, if you can just do the bare minimum at home and skate by, maybe that could potentially create a culture that is not ripe for innovation, potentially. Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. So I'll do you guys one better. I think this is an interesting conversation. So one of my good friends works for a big real estate management company. And he was running some analytics as it relates to single family homes. And obviously now that we know that as of 2 days ago, the average 30-year fixed rate mortgage is now 6%. Okay, so there was a report out of Goldman Sachs that said that demand for homes could drop by as much as 40% just due to the cost of capital or the cost of getting a mortgage. But here's a step further. So here's essentially what he was getting at. How many people do you guys think are out there that during the pandemic, they moved far away from their office, out to the suburbs, maybe even to a different state, because COVID, everybody could work remote? And how many of those people now are getting called back to the office, but they're like, oh wait, I can't get called back to the office because now I live, 100 miles away from the office. There's no way I could commute that every day. And that could potentially add some selling pressure in the market. Now, do you guys buy that narrative, or do you think that is a very, very small, select group of people? So once again, how many people do you think are affected by when COVID happened, everybody's working remote? You bought a house with your family out in the suburbs, and now your boss calls you up and is like, oh, back to work 5 days a week. And you're like, oh my gosh, wait a minute, I can't do that. I just bought a house 100 miles away from the office. There's no way I can commute every day. And that could potentially force some selling here in the market. Are you guys buying that, or do you think that's a little bit too far stretched? What do you guys think? Okay, hemp lord is like, that's a very small select group of people. Yeah, Gregory's like traffic jam. There's always massive traffic here. Look at the traffic. So Wendy England is like, nope, not gonna happen. Exploration is like probably too niche, wouldn't affect that many people. Adidas 29 is a small select group of people. I wouldn't have bought a house knowing there would be a chance of a return to the office. Okay, I respect it. Well, let's try to cross the street here without getting flattened. We'll see if we could pull that off. It looks like everybody's headed towards the tunnel. Hey, Susanna is like, Tom, another thing to consider, most older managers out there lack knowledge to do their job remotely. They have been trained to lead in person. That's actually a very good point. So there may be a little bit of a learning curve. So they're like, look, I've had enough of this. I've had more than enough of my share of, this is a really nice car here. More than enough of my share of managing a remote workforce. I want to try to bring everybody back in the office. Now, it's very possible. I think that's why you're seeing such a big push for banking to get back to the office, because banking is very traditional, right? Very, very traditional. Wow, check this out, everybody. This is a beautiful shot of the One World Trade Center with the World Trade Center memorial lights. Hey, Lewis is here. Good to see you, Lewis. If you guys are enjoying tonight's live stream, feel free to leave a like on the video and hit the subscribe button if you're new. We do these live streams about 5 days per week between New York City and Miami. Really, really busy day tonight in Manhattan. It's actually pretty good to see. It seems like all the bars, the restaurants are packed. Everybody's out. Looks like the city's 100% back, would you guys say? Jersey Girl says, hey Tom, what street are you on? I think it's Watts Street, so W-A-T-T-S. And there's a ton of traffic here, backed up. Probably people that had to come into the office once a week, now trying to get to the tunnel to go back to New Jersey. Yeah, but it's good to see everybody out. Let's walk down here. Very seldom do we come down here on the streams. It's kind of nice. Optimus17 says, hey Tom, I worked from home for several years before the pandemic. Now with manufacturing company, and they are old school and kept us working there the whole time. Oof. So how do you feel about that, Optimus 17? Bruno is here, says hello, Brazil. So I think it was Brazilian Independence Day yesterday. So happy Brazilian Independence Day to all of our viewers from Brazil. It's good to see you guys. Sabrina Fairs is the real boogeyman. We are soft and comfortable. Makes weak peeps. Kel is here, says New York Fashion Week also. Ooh, you're not the first person to say that, you're right. So it is New York City Fashion Week. And this does tend to be a particular part of the city where there's a lot of that activity. Eve says good evening and stay safe. Thank you, Eve. Appreciate it. Thought Travel is here. Cosmo Scary says, hey Tom, what do you think about Tim Ferriss's 4-hour work week? I don't think it would work for my life. I think it's almost impossible. I mean, if you're running like an e-commerce business or something like that, then I think it's possible to do like a 4-hour work week. But if you're selling like enterprise software or you work in investment banking, I just don't even see how that would be possible. I mean, I sometimes spend 4 hours a day on conference calls with engineers integrating particular softwares or building pitch decks. I don't know how it'd be possible to only work 4 hours a week, but in some specific businesses, right? Let's say if you are just running an e-commerce business and you're just driving advertising revenue to your business, then yeah, maybe you could do it, but in my line of work, I think it's almost impossible. But this restaurant looks really nice. Hey, Joan is here. Says, hello, Tom. Good to see you. Jake Gantz. Can't believe the Queen died today. Yeah, it's just been a lot. This week has been a crazy week with not only economic news but geopolitical news. Really, really wild stuff for sure. So condolences there, 100%. Hey, the Mighty Bull is here. Good to see you, Mighty Bull. Thank you for joining. This is the Soho Diner. I don't think I've ever been here. Cosmos says thanks for the answer. Yeah, I think it just depends on what line of work you're in, right? Check out the World Trade Center from here. Cayenne Pacific says, how are you tonight, Tom? I'm doing good. It's beautiful weather out. Work is picking up. Some deals are in the pipeline. Deals are flowing. I think there would be room, though, everybody, for a 4-day work week. I think a 4-day work week might actually work. And here's why. I think people would have to adjust to get more work done in a limited amount of time. So I actually think what may happen is stress levels may temporarily actually increase, but over time, humans will be able to adapt to be more efficient in their work. Because if everybody in the chat was very, very honest with themselves, ooh, check this out. This is a cool place too. If everybody in the chat was very honest with themselves and you said, how many hours a day of actual work? Now, I'm talking about actual work, like where you have your head down, you're working on something, you're either coding if you're a software engineer, or if you're a sales guy, you're making calls, or if you're in finance, you're building models. How many hours a day of actual work do you think you do out of a classic 8-hour work day? Now, if you're honest with yourself, I would probably argue less than half of those 8 hours is actually devoted to actual work. So my whole proposition is, look, let's move it to a 4-hour work week and people will be forced to actually get more work done in the hours that are afforded to them. I know I will. I'd be under the gun. I'd have to get more stuff done, but. So friends, we are West Broadway and Canal Street, and we have a beautiful view of the 9/11 Memorial floodlights. Looks fantastic. Andy S says, I like busy work. Ooh, this police officer is trying to get here. Trying to get over. J22 is like, Tom, it depends on what project I'm working on. Ren 10 is like, Tom, are you closing $1 million deals? Some, yeah, some. So Ren 1018, we were just talking about Zscaler coming out with a monster quarter, beating on both the top and the bottom line. I think Zscaler is up 12% after hours. I think the stock popped quite a bit. Now I'll give you guys another shot here. Now, one of the strong suits about Zscaler's earnings report is they're making extreme headway into the enterprise space, right? So those large enterprise deals that Ren 10 was talking about, those $1 million customers, those $100,000 deals, and Zscaler. Wow, check out this, everybody. Look at this full moon. Sorry, I get distracted easy. But Zscaler is growing their $100,000 deals at a 42% CAGR, or a compounded annualized growth rate. So the acronym CAGR stands for compounded annualized growth rate. And now they have about 2,089 customers that are billing at $100,000 or more. That is up from the same quarter last year, 1,480. So making really, really good strides there. Now, Jay Chaudhry did come in on the earnings call and say, when we close those large deals, where we're seeing a lot of success is the add-on business. So if anybody's familiar with SaaS and sort of the structure, the sales structure there, one of the things that a lot of companies like to do is land and expand. So you land a large deal, you shift it over from the account executives to the enterprise account managers or inside sales, and their job is to grow that customer from $100,000 a year to, $200,000 a year, $300,000 a year, and so on and so on. And that would be more along the lines of inside sales, an inside sales guy, but making extreme strides in that. Sunset Blue says, I believe that flexibility is here to stay. The majority of employees are not willing to give that up. I think so too. I think so too. Especially if you have kids. We were briefly talking about that Bill Ackman interview, and he said the same thing. He's like, look, everybody's back to the office now, but we're not going to be super strict like we were before. If you're not feeling well, you could stay home, all right? Look at this big alpaca here, a llama or whatever it is. Looks rather unique. They were like, if you're sick or something, you could stay home. If you have your kids are going to a baseball game, all right, take the kids to the baseball game. You could work from home that day. And I think that's more rational. I think it's more reasonable. So I agree with you. Hey, Lewis's Walks from Wall Street, very good. Your Twitter, I recommend it to everybody. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, sometimes I like to post some witty things on Twitter. So if you guys have a Twitter and you want to connect with us there, you could follow @Walks Wall Street. Sometimes I'll post some charts, my equity research there, things like that. So we are now at Mercer Street, everybody. But check this out. If you look all the way down the street, and if we zoom in, that's actually the Chrysler building. So you can see the very, very top of the Chrysler building. We'll walk down the street a teeny bit. I kind of like Kind of like the cobblestones here. Hey, Points Traveler says, what is the most optimistic stock you have in your portfolio? Most optimistic stock. Well, I'm not going to disclose the specific companies I own, mainly because I think it gives a little bit of a conflict, and then, you know, whichever way the stock moves, people will be like, oh my gosh, Tom from Walks on Wall Street made me lose all this money. No, you're responsible for your own stuff. Not saying you, Points Traveler, but, you know, other people. But I'll give you an industry theme, right? So I think I'll give you the industry themes of the thematics that I'm looking at. If I had to pick only 3 sectors to invest in over the next 5 years, it would be cybersecurity and it would be healthcare. I think if I really had to whittle it down to 2, it would be cybersecurity and healthcare. Now, this is because I like to look for the total growing TAM, right? So what is the total addressable market, and is that total addressable market growing? And so from the Zscaler earnings call today, Jay Chaudhry came out and said, look, every single quarter we discover a new growing opportunity in our market. And a lot of the chief technology officers that we talk to, or that our sales force talks to, whenever they do their budgets. And by the way, companies are doing their budgets right now for 2023. So if you're a salesperson or something like that, you should be getting in front of your customers now, because they are building in their budgets for 2023 now. And almost every single customer that I talk to and other people talk to, they are worried about cybersecurity. They're carving out a particular point of their business or a particular part of their budget to invest into cybersecurity infrastructure, right? And if we think about the thesis of the growing population, so if we look at demographics, the fastest growing sector of the US population is 85 plus. And then after that, it is 65 plus. So spending on healthcare is only going to go up. So based upon those 2 trends, I would focus on those 2 sectors, in my view, healthcare and cybersecurity. Yeah, Mike. So Mike says, Tom, technology will always advance healthcare due to the aging population and energy crisis. 3 sectors to invest, in my opinion. Yeah, that's another good one. You know, renewables, renewable energy, things like that. I think it's a good point, my friend. Hey, Sonny D, welcome. Says, hey Tom, what are your thoughts on UPS and FedEx? Sounds like there may be issues ahead. Any comments on either of those companies? Well, I could tell you from experience that over the past 2 years, shipping costs have been astronomical. And for me, it's been very hard to pass those costs on to my customers, because every time I give them a quote for shipping something, their jaw craters through the floor. So the good news is shipping costs are coming down. I think that FedEx and UPS has suffered from extreme churn, like employee turnover. But besides that, I mean, you know, as e-commerce continues to grow, look at this Tesla here, everybody. I like the color. It's sort of like a matte white, I guess. But I think as e-commerce continues to grow and expand, I mean, people are always going to need to have packages delivered, right? But maybe from like a supply chain standpoint or a logistics standpoint, 3PL, I think they're going to have challenges just like any other business, right? Mike MTL says, recession or not? Well, I classify that we're already in a recession. Obviously, because we've had 2 negative quarters of GDP. But I don't know. I don't really think recession is this big boogeyman. You know, I think there's been a lot of debate and bickering and fighting on Wall Street, and even in a political sense too, to say, oh, it's not a recession, oh, it is a recession. And I don't know, I don't really view it that way. Because recessions, it doesn't matter if it's under a Democrat or Republican. Recessions are like normal economic events. So I think the narrative now has changed to say, if you say we're in a recession, that must mean you are a Republican. And if you say we're not in a recession, that must mean you're a liberal. And I think that's just a really weird way to look at things. A recession doesn't necessarily mean the world is going to come to an end. Recessions are normal in a long-term growth trajectory of an economy. You know, you're going to have places where the economy speeds up, times where an economy slows down. So I would say we're in a recession right now, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's like the boogeyman or something like that. You see burgers like you almost got run over, I know. It's always important to, whenever you're driving in New York City, you got to make sure to hit every turn at 90 miles an hour. Hey, GM Workshops, as if they keep raising rates, we're going to have an apocalypse. Yeah, well, we've been talking about the liquidity issue. So one of the things that I've been looking at, and as we always talk about on the channel, I'm like, look, if you want to know where the stock market is going to go, you got to keep your eyes peeled on that bond market. Now, the equities market has had an extreme correlation between the yield on that 10-year. So whenever, mostly, right, if you pull up a chart of that 10-year US Treasury yield and you overlay that chart on, let's say, the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, anytime that 10-year yield drops, the market pretty much has a green day. Anytime that 10-year Treasury yield goes up, especially a lot of those NASDAQ stocks, they get crushed. And I think as we enter this environment of quantitative tightening and interest rates that are going up, a lot of the liquidity is going to be sucked out of the system. And that is not good. You know, you could have serious liquidity crisis. You could have an environment where the financial system locks up, right? So you can't pull cash out of the ATM. I don't really want to go that far into it, but maybe that's too much of an Armageddon issue. But let's just say I think it's possible. I think it may be possible, but so here we are in Little Italy. We're just going to do one quick lap around Little Italy, one quick lap around Chinatown, and then we will head to the Brooklyn Bridge. It's a beautiful night out here, though, in Little Italy. I love the fire escapes here. You know, and it's not just the United States either. I think we need to think about it on a global macro scale. So it's not just the Federal Reserve and Fed Chair Jerome Powell that is sucking liquidity out of the system. It's the ECB, it's in Canada as well. You know, the Canadians just raised interest rates 75 basis points after they raised them 100 basis points. You know, the ECB today, Christine Lagarde came out, says, look, we're raising 75 basis points. So global bond yields are probably going to continue to go up. And that's going to make the cost of capital for a lot of businesses a lot more expensive. This is Hester Street, by the way. This location has a really nice vibe to it. Everything is rather clean. Everything looks nice. So as the cost of capital goes up, it's less money that businesses can use to hire people, invest in their business. So naturally, the economy will slow down. But I think we have to do that so inflation doesn't run rampant, right? If you look at Eurozone inflation as opposed to inflation in the United States, Eurozone inflation in August is running at 9.1%, right? And many economists predict that it could go to 10% or more over the winter because of all what's going on with the Nord Stream pipeline and all that. Now, the good news is the commodities market is actually reflecting the opposite. So if you look at the broader suite of the commodities, a lot of these most notable commodities are actually getting crushed here, which is good. So I think we'll just have to keep our eye on it. Travel Nerd says, hey Tom, do you think the S&P 500 will see the SPY will see 405 tomorrow? I'm not sure what the market's going to do tomorrow, the next day. I try to more play the broader trend. I don't really try to predict what the market's going to do tomorrow. I think it's anybody's guess. But I don't know. Here's some good news that I think may be happening here. I think a lot of the selling in the enterprise software names or the SaaS names, I think a lot of that is priced in. Now, you would think, as we're going into this environment where interest rates are going to continue to go up, I think that's almost a guarantee, you would think those stocks are probably going to continue to get pounded. And that may be true. However, a lot of the times the market will already do that pricing in before the Fed actually raises rates physically. And that's called pricing in by the market. So I think there's some bargains to be had here. But we're going to talk about that in the newsletter that comes out. There's a couple specific companies that I think are getting quite attractive here from a valuation standpoint that I think we could discuss in further detail. So we're outside of the Cannoli King, but even better than this, everybody. Look at how beautiful the Empire State Building looks like tonight. You can see it all the way in the distance there. It looks fantastic. Hey, Black Beauty Machine is here. So this channel is a gift. Thank you, sir. Well, I appreciate you saying that. I think it's a good time. I mean, I have a blast doing these live streams, talking to all of you, getting to explore New York City and Miami. I think it's a good time. Hey, Austin City Limits says, Tom, the 10-year yield is the blood pressure in the human body. It's very important. Investors pay attention to the yield. Yeah, I would agree. I would definitely agree with you. So friends, this is Little Italy, but we're gonna cut over to Chinatown because I wanna also show you guys Chinatown, and I think we're gonna have just enough juice in the battery to go over the Brooklyn Bridge tonight as well. Jason D saw your Labor Day video. That is the former Nike store where Tiffany is temporarily. Yeah, so Jason, I think you're correct. Well, I know you're correct. Yeah, back in the day, I guess the flagship Nike store, as they call it, used to be right there. And the atrium is actually quite nice. The main atrium there, I think it connects the Tiffany and that Trump Tower. But this is the very famous Ferrara Bakery here. There's an old saying on Wall Street. Oh, look at this restaurant. This is very unique. So there's an old saying on Wall Street that when the United States economy gets sick, the rest of the world catches a cold. And I think that's very appropriate. Because obviously the main powerhouse out there is the United States. And I think that the ECB or Europe in general is probably going to have a harder time about it navigating this recessionary and inflationary environment than the United States will. All right. So usually during the day, this particular block is extremely lively with shops. There's tons of people. But at night, it's like a ghost town. It's actually kind of a little bit eerie walking down this block at night. There's pretty much no people. All the shops are closed. But if we continue down this street, you're actually going to see the main area of Chinatown where everything is still open. These are mainly like the grocery stores, I should say. Hey, Genius here says, hey Tom, when it's possible for you to do so in a future stream, can you show us the Seinfeld restaurant apartment? Yes. It's a little bit of a hike. We may do that though. I think that's a good idea. We'll check it out. Good to see you, Gene. Hopefully you're doing well. iRevis is like, it looks scary on the screen. Goddess says sketchy. D Dirty says, what street is that? This is Moat Street. So Moat Street is actually very nice. You have Vincent's on the corner here of Moat and Hester. This will bring you right into Little Italy. But if you keep walking down, this is the main area of Chinatown. Hester and Mott Street. Hey, photos from around New York. Good to see you, my friend. Yeah, the allergies are getting better. I think I'm almost 100% now. Energy's back. Voice is probably about like 98%. Still a little bit of ways to go, but it'll be all right. So in the essence or in celebration of Zscaler's earnings, and once again, the CEO of Zscaler is Jay Chaudhry. And I think Zscaler is very important because he owns about 45% of the company still, and he's the CEO. So if you think about what that means to an investor, that's essentially like a founder to a founder. Your company is your child. So you're gonna watch that company like a hawk. You're gonna make sure that the people that you're hiring are top, best in class. You're gonna make sure that the products and services you're developing are best in class. And I think that's what Jay Chaudhry is doing so far. I think he's doing a great job of it. I always say there's 3 particular cybersecurity companies I like to watch. One of which is Palo Alto Networks, then Zscaler and CrowdStrike. Probably are neck and neck here. And we're crossing over Canal Street now, everybody. So now we are south of Canal Street officially. And we are gonna do one quick lap around Chinatown. I think you guys are gonna like it. But I think we need to talk quickly about network infrastructure and what cybersecurity used to be. Now, back in the day, I think everybody has heard of the old Castle and Moat type cybersecurity, right? So if you think about, I mean, IT is undergoing a massive transformation over the past few decades. You know, wide area networks were traditionally built to connect remote offices to applications in the physical data center. Okay, so think about like before like SaaS was a thing. So before software as a service, before public clouds were a thing. This is actually a very good restaurant, by the way. This is one of my favorite ones. So this is known as a traditional hub and spoke network. And at the time, this worked very well for a data center centric environment. It's unfortunate that a lot of these lights are actually out. Usually these lanterns or the paper lanterns are lit up. But for some reason about half of them are out today. So if you think about back in the day, in order to access a particular application, you needed to be on the specific trusted network. And in order to secure that network, what did we do? Does anybody know what we did back in the day? Like just a traditional cybersecurity one-on-one. So back in the day, what you would do is you would just create a firewall around your entire infrastructure, and you would say, perfect, problem solved. So everything outside of the firewall is bad, or a threat, or a perceived threat, and everything inside that firewall is deemed good. Now, as the cloud has evolved, as SaaS has evolved, that model really isn't sufficient anymore for a number of reasons. This is Moat Street. I think it's Bayard Street as well. There's actually some pretty good bubble tea places here. And I believe one of my favorite soup places, let's see if we could walk up and see it. I think it may actually just be reopening. Maybe on the corner here, let's see. Anyway, so however, in today's world, if you think about your workforce, it's all decentralized, right? And your applications are no longer only sitting in the data center. You know, applications have moved to software as a service, public clouds. You could think about like a Workday, right? Which is an HR application, Salesforce for your CRM, 365 for your email, and then ServiceNow. So since networks and applications are pretty much intertwined, if you think about sort of how that hierarchy is set up, users have to be on the corporate network in order to access those applications by either, number one, coming to the office, which we know is not going to be a thing anymore now that all workers are remote, or you need to extend that network via a VPN or virtual private network. So COVID really accelerated the adoption of this zero trust sort of cybersecurity, because with the flip of a switch with the virus, everybody now is working remotely, whether they like it or not. So to access a corporate infrastructure, you're not coming to the office. So that means you're going to have to distribute that or extend your networks. Look at all this garbage here, via a VPN, a virtual private network. And for public clouds, you're going to have to extend that network even further to multiple regions of the public cloud providers. And that could include anybody from AWS or Amazon, AWS, Microsoft Azure, and Google. But here's the thing, by extending your network, you allow for easy access to all of your apps because it's on a secure network, but that also means the malicious actors and attackers have more endpoints or more areas where they can infiltrate your corporate network, get into your applications, and shut down your entire infrastructure. So that has been the issue there. Now, with new zero trust architecture, this is the soup place, by the way. I think it's brand new. It looks completely remodeled. It is called Great New York Noodle Town. I would highly, highly recommend this for anybody coming to New York. It's on the corner of Bayard Street, right adjacent from the very famous Manhattan Bridge. Some of my favorite food here. Also, it's cash only, so you can't bring like a credit card or anything, but I'll show you guys the sign. It's my favorite place. And it is fantastic. But essentially, anyway, getting back on track, with zero trust, you're not connecting people to the network, you're connecting people to applications. And you're verifying every user that connects to those applications. So instead of allowing people access to the network that could potentially be a malicious actor or something like that, if you route all of your data traffic through like the Zscaler data centers, its job is to match those specific users to your corporate infrastructure, the applications that you use, right? So for anybody out there who sells zero trust technology, or maybe you work at like a Zscaler or a CrowdStrike or a Palo Alto, that is sort of how network infrastructure and network architecture is going to have to adapt. Because gone are the days where you could just throw up a firewall and say anything outside that firewall is potentially malicious or dangerous, and anything inside is safe. Because now that you throw in public cloud, now that you throw in SaaS, there's so many endpoints out there. I mean, if you have an employee service of 20,000 employees and not everybody's coming to the office. So they're doing work on their laptops, they're doing work on their phones. Think about how many points of penetration potentially they have to compromise your entire corporate infrastructure. So I think Zscaler is going to continue to be a leader in Zero Trust. And I think that's why the stock is up 15% after hours. Hey, AK is here. So cybersecurity is a very proactive business. They need to constantly stay ahead of the malicious people. I feel like it's a never-ending battle. Yeah, I think you summed it up exactly correct. I think, AK, you sum it up exactly correct. And I think that's why cybersecurity spend is going to have to continue to increase. You know, again, I'll say it, it seems as if that cybersecurity is not a nice-to-have product. It's not a must-have product. It's almost a requirement for a business. But AK, it's good to see you, my friend. Hopefully you're doing well there in Miami. Hey, Gotham is just here. Welcome, welcome. John Smith says Palo Alto Networks has great revenue growth over a decade, but is yet to have positive net income. How does one value a company like that? Yeah, so I mean, that's the problem with Zscaler too. And I think that's the problem with a lot of these tech companies, right? Because in an environment of artificially suppressed rates, the business model was grow top line at all costs, right? And a lot of the times when there's private equity involved, they'll actually advise to do that, right? They'll say, let's just grow top line at all costs because we want to take advantage of that TAM and try to, dominate market share. Now, that's all well and good when interest rates are near zero. But now we live in a different environment, in a different world, where interest rates are rising, right? Not only here in the United States with Fed Chair Jerome Powell raising interest rates, but in Canada and Europe, everywhere, which tends to make investors focus more on profitability. So I agree with you 100%, but that is sort of and this is why I've sort of been very critical of a select few of these particular SaaS companies, is because I understand revenue growth at all costs, I get it, but at some point you need to focus on profitability. But there's some companies that you look at and say, okay, you have absolutely no clear path towards profitability. It's just like impossible. However, with Zscaler and Palo Alto Networks, they do have a clear path towards profitability. But I understand what you mean. I think that's why, tech valuations have been clocked over the past year, is because as rates go up, investors are like, nope, we don't care about the revenue growth. We don't care about the top line. We want profits. So. All right, everybody, let's head towards the Brooklyn Bridge now. Hey, Al says, I follow you since the pandemic. I'm from Argentina, but live in Miami and love New York City. Hey, thank you so much, Al. Appreciate it. Hey, Catch the Truck. Long time no see. Says, hello from New Bedford tonight. Good to see you, my friend. Says, much love, my guy. Glad you're still moving. Hope all's well. Yeah, everything's going good, man. I wish you the same. Hopefully all is well with your business. Check out that view of the One World Trade Center tonight from Mott Street. But if you guys are enjoying the live stream tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the stream if you're new. We tend to do these streams around 5 days a week between New York City and Miami. And now we're headed to the Brooklyn Bridge. Hopefully the battery will last. I think it will. And I think we're gonna have a fantastic view of the 9/11 memorial floodlights from the Brooklyn Bridge. James, appreciate it. Says, always love the stream. Also, if you guys want to stay connected, which we will also have a specific topic on cybersecurity, if you scan the QR code on your screen, punch in your email, I write a free investing newsletter for the group where we talk about the US equity markets. Ooh, it looks like this Tesla got a ticket. It's not good. We talk about the US equity markets, we talk about emerging markets, fixed income, and sometimes we do deep dives of companies. So if you want to stay up to date there, scan the QR code, punch in your email, and you will be signed up for free to receive that newsletter. But now off to the Brooklyn Bridge, my friends. I think we're gonna have a pretty clear night. I think we're gonna have a good view. Hey, Big Task says, hey Tom, what time do you do the streams? So we are live at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. So 8:30 New York time. Doomster's in the house is here, good to see you. James says, I miss New York so much. We'll make it a trip to come back. You know, we're headed into the fall. I think it's a pretty perfect time to visit New York, especially as we make our way into October. You could walk around Central Park, see all the foliage, the leaves changing. Some of my favorite times of year. Oscar Diaz says, Tom, you must have some crazy walking shoes. No, I actually have these very old Cole Haan shoes that probably have been through over 500 or so miles, maybe more. So after work, I'll change out of my work stuff and throw on my junk, as I like to call it, the junk walking shoes. Brooklyn Boris has come walk here sometime. Yeah, so we haven't really been streaming in Brooklyn, New York. And I think the reason for that is because I work in Manhattan, so it's hard for me to get to Brooklyn. But we'll technically be there tonight. We'll technically be there tonight as we walk across the Brooklyn Bridge. Hey, Grand Street 1 is here. Good to see you, Grand Street. We were actually just walking on Grand Street, to be frank. Andy is here from South Korea. Good to see you, Andy. Andy, I was reading an article today in the Wall Street Journal about South Korea. South Korea is an absolutely beautiful place, but for some reason the article was saying they're having some issues with well, I think it's probably not exclusive to Korea. You know, we deal with it here in the United States too, but the depression rates are getting out of control. But I don't think that's exclusive to Korea. You know, depression is a problem in every country, but I was reading an article today. It was just disheartening, to say the least. Well, this is a nice shot of the One World Trade Center here. Outside of all the famous courthouses here in Lower Manhattan. Hey, thank you so much for the 15 SAR donation. I appreciate it. Thank you for the support. Your donations keep the streams going, chugging along, so I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Jersey Girl, that's horrible. This is Tom. I was living in New York City on 9/11. Lost my friend Eddie on the 94th floor. It's always a very difficult time in New York, especially around this time, as we approach September 11th. I think it's a specific time to be quite appreciative of the FDNY, NYPD first responders. They definitely go through a lot, so I think around this time of year I have a more deeper set of appreciation towards them. I think, at least that's how I feel. 90s, do you wake up early for work? It depends. It depends on when I have my meetings. So I tend to set my meetings after 10 o'clock in the morning. So I have the morning to get ready or, prepare for the day. And over my course of my sales career, I've actually noticed that it's better to set sales calls after 10 a.m. Usually before 10 a.m. everybody is super groggy. You don't really want to talk to a sales guy. So I think if you let people settle in and sort of, get accustomed to their environment. I don't know, maybe it's sort of a little bit of an anecdotal data there, but with my existing customers, I tend to push all my meetings after 2 o'clock. People's moods tend to be a little bit better, especially if it's like an implementation call or something like that. People tend to be a little bit more cheery later in the day, I've noticed, than very early on in the day. Hey, India 2019, or 1920. Good to see you. This is the world froze when 9/11 happened. Everything went silent for a good 6 months. Yeah, and I can't believe it's already been over 20 years now. Can you guys believe that? That's the one thing I can't believe. It's just time is almost an illusion. It goes by so fast. So we made it, everybody, to the Brookyn Bridge. We're gonna make a left here and start our walk over. Bernie Williams is here. Hey Bernie, good to see you. Marcelo is here. This is a beautiful night in New York City. NMB 045 says, I agree, Tom, 10 a.m. is the sweet spot. NMB 045, trust you had a good Thursday. Friday Eve, as I like to call it. NMB 045, we started off the stream near Madison Square Park. We walked all the way through Chinatown. We walked through Little Italy. Now we are going to make our way over the Brookyn Bridge. We were talking about Zscaler today. We also covered the ECB with Christine Lagarde. They raised interest rates today, 75 basis points. And also our friends in Canada raised 75 basis points as well yesterday. All right, so this is the on-ramp, or the walking/bike path to the Brookyn Bridge. But you'll notice, even though you see the logos for biking, they've actually moved the bike lane. They've divided the cars. They've pushed them over 2 lanes. And now if you want to bike over the Brookyn Bridge, you have your own bike path. There's no pedestrians to get in your way to harass you, vice versa. So I think they did a really good job with that. Now you can just walk over the Brookyn Bridge at your own pace. You don't have to worry about, cyclists or electric scooters whizzing by. You can sort of just walk over and enjoy it yourself. Hey, Alex Jr. is here. Good to see you, Alex. And thank you for your support, my friend. I appreciate it. So here's a little bit of a tip about the Brookyn Bridge I'll give everybody. If it's your first time on the Brookyn Bridge, here's what I suggest. I suggest that you first walk across it in the daytime and then come back the same day and walk across it at night. I think you're gonna have a really interesting experience if you do that. But do it in the same day. So wake up early, bang out some miles across the Brookyn Bridge during the day, do the same thing at night. It's almost like a different experience altogether. It's quite nice. Yeah, GX72 says no blaring music tonight. And we have a full moon. Hey, Infinite Sky is here. Good to see you. So here's a look at the on-ramp, the Brookyn Bridge. So did they turn off the 9/11 lights? I can't see them. Ah, Autumn Beauty. It's like, I'm scared to walk across the bridge. I'm afraid of heights. It's not too bad. I tend to be afraid of heights too, but it's actually not too bad tonight. NMB 045 says, Tom, I would recommend many people doing the one Vanderbilt at midday. Totally different experience in the dark. Wow. You know, I'm gonna take you up on that because I've never been myself. This is one of my favorite apartment buildings in the city, this one right here. Very, very unique. A decent amount of traffic coming on the bridge, by the way. Oh, wow. So Destructionist says, yeah, they did turn off the lights because birds are attracted to them. I didn't know that. That's a little bit of a bummer. I didn't know they turned them off. Hey, Bernie Williams says, at Tom, I'm totally scared of heights. Think having kids and trying to explain that to them. Wow. Yeah, I'm not like a big fan of heights, but I mean, you don't even notice you're in the air when you're over the Brooklyn Bridge. If you look to your left, you'll be able to see the subway going over the Manhattan Bridge. Ed Cooper, what's going on, Ed? Thanks for joining, man. Good to see you. Horatio Snipes says, Tom, you're my favorite person. Right back at you. Thank you for being so kind. Captain Kirk says, Tom, you would have made a great school teacher. Really? I appreciate you saying that. Thank you for the kind words, my friend. Oh, okay, so Action Kid is like, they have to turn off the 9/11 floodlights because the birds are attracted to it, so they have to turn it off from time to time. Hey, Stacy G says, hey, Tom and chat, loving the juxtaposition of finance talk along with the amazing New York City sites. Thank you for being here. I'm glad you found the channel. We have a lot of new viewers, so I appreciate everybody who's been subscribing to the channel. It's been very interesting and very fun to watch this grow. So I hope you guys are all enjoying the content. I'll give you one more look of the on-ramp to the Brooklyn Bridge. So these are all the cars coming from Manhattan to Brooklyn. Hey, Melissa Vasquez. This is, hey Tom, I'm new, watching from Seattle, Washington. Love that. I could probably stand up here all day and just listen to the cars whiz by. So here are the cars coming from Brooklyn, New York to Manhattan. Hey, Optimus 17 says, Tom, this brings back memories of when I lived in downtown Brooklyn and my father drove me back after visiting my parents in New Jersey on the weekends. Well, I'm glad I could bring back that memory. That sounds awesome, man. Thank you for watching. Hey, Tariq, thank you so much for the $20 donation. Tariq Khan says, God save the Queen. Love this channel, keep speaking the truth. Thank you so much. I appreciate the donation and thank you for your support. You help keep these live streams trucking along, so thank you so much, my friend. Wow, this is a fantastic shot of the very iconic arches of the Brooklyn Bridge. Now, the reason why we've been coming up to the Brooklyn Bridge more often than not is because all of the disgusting scaffolding is finally now off at the bridge. So you have an absolute unobstructed view of all of downtown Brooklyn. If you pan over to the left, an unobstructed view of the Manhattan Bridge. And if you turn around, you have an unobstructed view of the One World Trade Center and all of Lower Manhattan. Hey, Autumn says, hey Tom, I have worked downtown Brooklyn for 9 years and have been too chicken to walk across. You're making me want to try it someday. Yeah, definitely give it a try. I think it's fantastic. We have sunshine after rain. Good to see you, sunshine. So we sometimes stream from over here. This is the South Street Seaport. Zita Lopez, good to see you. Oh, that's really cool. So those guys watch from London. They just moved to New York City. They say they love the streams, so it's good to have two native people from London to New York. So welcome to New York. We're happy to have you. Fantastic. Yeah, Robert says, did you really start at Midtown? So we did. Well, I guess not technically Midtown. We started the stream right outside of Madison Square Park, so 23rd Street, 23rd and Broadway. Hey, the ABX girl, thank you for joining tonight. Have a fantastic night and have a beautiful rest of the week. Friday tomorrow. Hope you have a great day Friday. So I think this is a good shot here. You can see the American flag at top of the Brooklyn Bridge. Everybody, it looks like we have some traffic here at the RFK. So the RFK snakes all the way around the island, but it seems to be some traffic under the Manhattan Bridge. Hey, David is here. This is a great shot, Tom. Thank you for the stream. Thank you for watching, David. Oh, the FDR. Sorry about that. I get a little bit of brain fog once we start to hit hour 2 on the stream. So the good news is if we walk a little bit further north, well, south technically, you'll be able to see the Statue of Liberty over here. Yeah, Vinny Castellano's like a rip your face off shot. I would agree. It's a 10 out of 10. You know, I wish the 9/11 memorial lights were up. But I understand that they have to take them down from time to time due to the birds getting caught in the lights. I get that, but yeah, Jules, I get it. Yeah, the Queen did pass away today. Wild. So my condolences to the Queen and her family. If you look all the way in the distance, you'll be able to see the Empire State Building actually lit up, I believe in memorial for the Queen's passing. So the Brooklyn Bridge is really unique because you could almost see every major skyscraper in Manhattan. You could see the Empire State Building. Right here, you could see at the very right-hand corner of your screen, you could see the very top of the Chrysler Building. And then obviously here you have One World Trade. Wow, this is a really unique shot. So this is the main sort of arches of the Brooklyn Bridge, but if you look to the right, you'll see the full moon actually as well. And then over here is the Verrazano Bridge, where we actually see when we take the Staten Island ferry. And then this is the South Street Seaport area. So I actually used to work down here on Water Street. Hey, Tariq says, Tom, how do you feel about VMware and Broadcom? Well, I think you could lump them into having also secular tailwinds with the adoption of cloud, also semiconductors. So this is a view of One Vanderbilt. But if you guys have enjoyed the live stream so far, feel free to support by clicking the like button and hitting the subscribe button if you're new. We usually do these live streams about 5 days per week, starting at 8:30 p.m. New York time. So this is actually a good shot of the cars coming over, but you also have that dedicated bike lane. So for those non-New Yorkers out there, this used to be absolute mayhem here in the Brooklyn Bridge. You would have all the pedestrians and the tourists over here, and the bikes would be whizzing by. It was very dangerous, actually. So I think the city did the right thing by moving that bike lane down on the street. It makes it a little bit safer for the tourists, people walking and commuting. So I think they did the right thing. You know, many people were up in arms because now there's only, you know, 2 smaller lanes for the cars, but I think it's well worth it. Hey, Stacy says, thank you for the stunning camaraderie work. Bernie Williams says, Tom, love it, pal. Already liked. Not been able to join for a while. Always quality. Thank you, Bernie Williams. Nice view of the Manhattan Bridge, too. Center Star is here, good to see you. Oh, this is a really good shot here. So you can see the World Trade Center through the arch of the Brooklyn Bridge. Hey, Stephen Gary Gravy. This is Tom, I live in downtown Toronto. And since I've subscribed and watched how much you walk, you have inspired me to go walking in my own neighborhood. I have learned so much about New York City and finance from your channel. Hey, awesome, man. Love that. And I also love to hear that you're getting the road work in too. Always pleased to hear that. So you could actually see the One Vanderbilt building, and if you look to the right, you'll see the Billionaires Row building of 432 Park Avenue. And it's crazy to sort of see it from here, because oftentimes we will stream, starting the stream, right from under 432 Park Avenue, which is that little sort of speck of a building right here. So it just gives some perspective of how far we've walked. Hey, Western Mass, Dave is here. Good to see you, Dave. Dave, we took a trip to the Brooklyn Bridge tonight to try to get a view of the One World Trade Center amongst the 9/11 memorial lights, but they just as we got to the Brooklyn Bridge, they turned it off. Which I understand, but maybe we'll have to come back another night when we walk over the Manhattan Bridge. But just as a quick recap for those of you who are just joining, we did cover Zscaler under the ticker symbol ZS. They reported a fantastic beat and raise quarter, beating on both the top and the bottom line. We also talked about monetary policy across the globe. We talked about the ECB raising 75 basis points tonight. Usually we could see the Statue of Liberty here. Hey, Captain Kirk, says Tom, I'm curious, how many miles do you do on the streams? So I usually post that on Twitter. So if you guys have Twitter and you want to follow me there, you can follow @WalksWallStreet. And I believe we usually do anywhere from 10 to 13. Now, I think that's throughout the day, because I do walk a little bit throughout the day. But I think mostly in the streams, we could probably get in around maybe 8 to 10 miles. So today we walked from Madison Square Park to the Brooklyn Bridge. So I think that alone is maybe 5-ish. But we sort of did a couple of laps around, you know, Chinatown, Little Italy. Yes, or the Discord. You guys could click the link and join us there in the Discord, and we will definitely be there. Hey, Tom Barry is here. What's up, Tom? Good to see you. GX72 says, I would love to see a live helicopter tour in New York City. Ooh, I don't think I could do that, man. I think that's, I think the highest I'll go is the Brooklyn Bridge. I think I tap out when we get helicopters involved. You know, it was crazy. When I was down in Miami, right before I was starting the stream, there was a helicopter crash. So the helicopter crashed right into the water there in Miami Beach. So I don't know. I don't think I trust helicopters. Yes, Western Mass Dave says to all our friends in the UK. Agreed, my friend. Yeah, so Dave, if you rewind to the beginning of the stream, the Empire State Building is lit up very, very nicely. And I believe it is lit up in those royal purple colors for the Queen, I believe. Hey, Laytha, what's up? Laytha, happy Friday Eve. Oh, Bagels and Walks is like the moon is only 95% full tonight. Oh, so Dave, you're just in time, my friend. You can see it. So there we have a clear shot of the Empire State Building. But everybody, I completely lost track of time. We've been streaming for about 2 hours and 15 minutes. And unfortunately, I do have to go home. I have to wake up and go to work tomorrow. But the good news is that we should be live tomorrow at 8:30, right back here from New York. So if you guys enjoyed the stream, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Thank you all for coming out. Western Mass Dave, Laytha, Melissa White, Irivas, Miss Brown Eyes, all of our moderators, thank you so much. Hope you guys enjoyed tonight's stream as we talked about cybersecurity. We went over a little bit of network architecture lessons. We talked about Zscaler, European Central Bank monetary policy, and even remote work. If you guys want to stay connected with us, I write a free financial newsletter where we talk about a lot of the topics that we cover on the live stream. So feel free to scan the QR code, punch in your email, and usually every other Tuesday when the market closes, we will send you that newsletter absolutely free. But until tomorrow, everybody, have a fantastic one. I wish you all the best. I hope you guys finish strong, because we have to get ready for the weekend. And just maybe, we will be streaming from a very interesting place on Saturday night. So all stay tuned for that. So Sally, thank you so much. Lay the Joe Driver, Andy from South Korea, Bernie Williams, Austin City Limits, Kathy Lyons, Steven, thank you so much. Two Barnacles, Jersey Girl, Iribus, and to the Mighty Bull, have a good night wherever you are, because there is always a bull market somewhere, and you just need to know where to look. I'll see you guys right back here tomorrow night, 8:30 New York time. Until then, take it easy, good luck, and have a great Friday. See you tomorrow.